There are times that I question, why do I have to go through certain painful situations in life? Why me? Why does bad things befall only me? Selamat datang and welcome to our channel. I am Yasmin.
And I'm Chris. And I bet we can all relate to Yasmin. You must be able to reflect and think about something unfortunately that happened to you too. So in our podcast today, we're going to explore many moments, these kemuncak moments that shape who we are. In this episode, we will learn how we can go past just surviving towards learning from painful episodes in our lives. Pain is a teacher from which we can learn much from. So today I would like to thank Yasmin for daring to share your vulnerable self. So tell us more about this challenging scenario that you've gone through.
Surely, Chris. For this, I have to bring you back a little in time. A time where I think I had quite the luck with career. And I had an amazing boss. Now, I wouldn't call him a boss. He was a true leader. Empathetic. He recognizes effort. He's so helpful. You could go to him at any point in time and he would help you. Even I started emulating him. And people around me started looking up to me. They came to me. They started asking for help. I wasn't just a subject matter expert. I started becoming a leader. Everything was too good to be true at some point. I had a good leader that I can always go to. I had my peers who was always looking up to me. I had an amazing team that was always checking in with me if they had anything that they could do to help me.
Wow, that is a good start in that company, right? So what I'm hearing from you is an inspiring leader who inspired leadership in you. I'm hearing that, well, because he made you believe in yourself, you started to do amazing projects around the region, all right? And what better to have supportive teammates with you? Wow, that is a good start. What happened next?
Well, there was one day that I still remember clearly. I was in a very important call, and right after I ended that call, I got another call on my phone. And this person on the line said, "You've been headhunted for this role. Would you be interested?" And I was too stunned. I was like, headhunted for a role? And it was for a very prestigious bank. And at that point, without thinking further, I said, yeah, why not, right? And let's try this. Now, I'm sure you'll be asking, why do this when things were going so well? When things become too comfortable, I think for me, it was only normal to start challenging myself further and to see how I can do better or what else that I can give in this corporate world.
So, Yasmin, from what I understand was that definitely the previous place was such an attractive workplace, right? Great boss, supportive team, okay, and there was like every reason for you to stay. And at the same time, you saw this fresh challenge in this new company. So, can you elaborate a bit more? What were you looking for in this new organization?
When the hiring manager told me that I can bring my expertise and my knowledge to make changes happen in that department, I was really looking forward to that because that's my area, right? Making change happen. And of course, the first thing that I wanted to do was not just to disrupt everything, but to see how things were working and then to sort of bring the perspective of streamlining processes and bringing something more a fresh idea to the team because this is a product completely different to me. But that didn't happen, Chris. That didn't happen. When I went in, you would be amazed. I sat on my floor, not knowing my peers, because there was nobody to introduce me. My buddy was not around. He was away on holidays for a month-long holiday. I only got to know my buddy after 2 weeks or so. And then for 2 weeks I sat with no laptop. For 2 weeks I sat without any work, but only a manual to look at.
So it was not quite the fairy tale beginning that you were hoping for.
No. And to add to all this, I should have known. I had all the insights to this, right? On the way to my interview,
Okay.
I met with an accident. And this is very unlike me. I love my car and I'm always, very careful, although I am a fast driver. Looking back now, it was right there in front of me. Something happened and I felt like that was a sign to me that
Right.
this is not it.
Right. And I'm guessing that things even went downhill after that.
Yeah. I would think that when I entered the department that things were going to be as rosy as I pictured, or as rosy as the hiring manager pictured it to me. He told me so many things about the people that I would be working with, about the companies that I was working with, going to be working with, and the projects, and so many things were running in my head at that point. But it was never like that. It was a completely different, right? I had a culture shock entering in that company, and I had people looking at me from top to bottom, like as if I am there to take over their job, right? And that was the hostility that I felt. So that was exactly how a particular peer was towards me, more harsher or more, what was the word? More,
Venomous?
yeah, you could say venomous towards me, right?
Right.
And unfortunately for me, she was the one who was assigning projects in the team.
Okay.
So you can already guess how things turned out for me. So I wouldn't get the fancy projects, the billion-dollar projects, or the projects that require someone in my position, right? And when she became the boss, I felt like it was the beginning of my downfall. She started making a lot of changes to the entire department, revamping. And something told me, right? Something told me inside of me, I'm not going to be here for long. She is definitely going to get rid of me by hook or by crook. And that's when the office bullying started. The emails started coming through, picking up on every single mistake that I made. She even had an Excel sheet of all the wrongs that I did. And I remember how she never trusted me. And the funny thing was, my clients adored me.
Right.
Yeah. And they are always very supportive. Very, very, my most difficult clients, I still remember, had given me such really good feedback. But never from her. It was very difficult for me to get one good thing out of her from me. I can't remember at any time that she actually valued something that I did. There was no appreciation. And what I feared the most was when she called me into her room, right, into the room for our one-on-ones. And I know for a fact that it would either end with a shouting match or a calling off what you did wrong. Never about what you can improve. Never of how should we move forward from here, or never about what she can do or what she can do to help or support me, right? So that was very, very difficult times for me, and I still remember the emails that I used to get from her, the shame that I was put through, the blame that was thrown at me. Many things, Chris. It was so excruciatingly painful. I had sleepless nights.
Right.
Yeah, there are nights that I question why me, right? Why all of this has to happen to me? Why do I deserve all this pain? Why all these painful things have to befall on me? Why only me, right? I couldn't find an answer, and I felt really hopeless. My family struggled to see me that way, right? And I can see the pain in their eyes too. My mom, she tells me these days, like, I'm so happy to get your call, but in those days, it was so painful that whenever you call, I wonder what happened. It was really hard for her and for my husband as well to see what I was going through. It was so difficult for my son as well.
So it was both struggle at the workplace and also struggle in the family to see
Yeah.
your husband, your mother, and your son.
Yeah. As much as we want to leave our work behind or whatever that has happened at work, just at work, right? It's never the case. We are going to bring that whole load with us wherever we are. And I remember being so zombied. If you look at some of my older pictures, you would never recognize me, Chris. I look really frail. I lost so much hair. I think at that point, a friend of mine noticed and she said, "Are you doing okay? Yasmin, is something troubling you?" And that's when I completely broke down. I remember I told her what was going on, and she was the one who said, "You know, what you're going through is office bullying. It's not normal. You really have to think of getting yourself out of it." And I appreciate my friend for this, because if she didn't tell me this, I wouldn't have stepped out of it. I would have remained where I was. I would have remained and fought my way. It's not about fighting. I remember my previous leader, that amazing leader I told you about, he told me, choose your battle. Choose your battle, because not all battles are meant to be fought. And I kept my silence for the longest of time, until one day I couldn't take it anymore.
Your story there reminds me of, what I hear sometimes of wives who are abused by husbands. All right, so they tend to stay in that relationship and they don't realize the abuse that they are getting, and that was what happened to you, right? Yeah. So you were under a bully boss and you were going through the motions until your friend told you about it. And was that like one of the lowest point in your work life?
Yes, it was. It definitely was. And I felt at that point, right, I was woken up from a deep sleep, like someone, told me in the face, like, come on, wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee. You are going through something and it's not normal, right? And I think at that point, my mental and emotional health was at its worst, right? It was its lowest.
Right.
And like you said, how women who were abused don't really see it, because there are many factors that affect it, right? One, of course, financially, right? They might not be financially stable. And similar to us, as we walk up that corporate ladder, that's how much we build our liabilities as well, right? The bills that we need to pay also kind of grows with it. And for me too, right? How do I leave my job? How do I think of just putting everything there and just walking out of it, right? And I feel for women as well who are probably not independent themselves. How do they walk out of marriages like that? So to me, while that was a statement that woke me up, it was still a lot of questions there.
All right.
How do I do this? What do I do, right? That would make the best sense. And the only thing that I could think of at that point was I need to find a new job and I need to leave this hole, right? This hole that I was in. And but it wasn't easy. It's never easy finding a job. And I remember at that point we were going into MCO.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pre-pandemic. The market was not doing good. People were losing jobs at that juncture, and not taking on new jobs because there was so much uncertainty in the
Right.
air. Yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, I really had to do something. I really couldn't take it anymore. And it
So
was
you went to a point of desperation, would you say
yeah,
that?
it was a point of even desperation, right? And I felt like I didn't want this negativity coming into my home.
Okay.
Why should it, right? So I decided then at one point to just put the paper. And while it was the most difficult thing that I think, when I think back, to do, but at the same time, it was the most liberating thing that I did because I felt this whole weight of me, weight on me that has completely lifted and left. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you use the word liberating, right? Yeah. And the word, like weight being taken off,
Yeah.
right? It must have taken quite a bit of courage because, as you said, that it was financial uncertainty plus the MCO being thrown to the mix. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it will, so it would be something that you even do it today if you were in that situation again.
Yeah, I don't think I would do anything differently.
Different, right,
Yeah, because
right.
there are some things that you can change, right? Like
right.
my boss said, fight the battles that you can fight,
Right.
right?
Right.
But this was a losing battle for me. This was not for me. And why fight a battle that you are going to lose? You're only wasting your energy.
So when you left at that point, okay, what were you hoping to gain?
I think for me at that point, I just want to recover mentally, emotionally, physically. I want to be able to not just be trapped in a rat race. Like my son said, right? Mom, you are just trapped in a rat race. And coming from a 11-year-old at that time, I thought that was super wise, right? We are all stuck in a rat race if you really think about it.
Right.
Yeah, climbing that corporate ladder is a rat race. Yeah, and we get caught in it, right? As our salaries increase, our liabilities are also increasing, and then we are succumbed to that 9 to 5, right? We have no choice, and that's the same way I felt, right? I don't have a choice. This is all I have, right? This is what is given to me, so I have to.
So it was some sort of a wake-up call for you.
Yes.
So instead of being slave to a salary or slave to a corporation, that situation created a wake-up call for you to perhaps reevaluate your priorities and your values.
Exactly. And I think while it was the most terrifying time of my life, like, putting down my paper and not knowing what's next, the entire uncertainty of things. But it was the first time in my life where I felt like I did something right, something the best for myself, you know? And I went from being terrified of the uncertainty and embracing it and eventually turning it into an amazing, amazing journey, Chris. I couldn't even start to tell you how beautiful this journey of mine was from that day. And I can't say that it was all beautiful roses, right?
Sure.
It's so rosy. It was that ups and downs of that journey that made it even more amazing.
So what I'm hearing from you, Yasmin, I think this is usual for a person who is maturing, who is growing. As you said a bit earlier, you were wrestling between being terrified at the uncertainty and also trying to make the right decision. And whatever you said made me reflect to one of my favorite saying by this guy by the name of Ernest Hemingway, and this is what he's got to say: the world breaks everyone, and afterwards the many are strong at the broken place. I felt that happened to you. Share with us more how you repaired yourself.
I think for me, it started with, all these emotions all bottled up inside. The emotions started eating me inside out. I felt really, really hollow. I always remember this saying, right? You gotta give some to get some. And for me was that whole idea that I had to let go of my job or give up my job to get a peace of mind. Of course, it was as easy as that now when I say it, but I went through sleepless nights. I lost so much of it. And my mental health took a toll, right? But what changed was when I started acknowledging my pain. I started acknowledging that, wow, okay, I felt all this pain in me. Wow, I felt hollow in me. Wow, this is really hurting me, right? This loss of job, this loss of sense of responsibility that I used to have, right? All of this, when I started acknowledging that pain and becoming friends with my pain, I began to understand myself, right? What made it more painful for me? Why was this whole incident so painful to me, right? It was that understanding and acknowledging that pain was the first part of my entire journey. And I needed that. I needed to acknowledge it because when I kept brushing it under the carpet, I would end up with days where I would just literally lie in bed and wonder what's going to happen next. But there are days that I still feel like, you want to look back on the past and try to meddle with it and fix it, see what you can do to mend it. The thing is, the past is over, and what we have is only now. And when I accepted that the past is over, acceptance, right? That's the second part. Accepting that I had cut all ties with that past, with that past boss, with that past self, right? And that was all history. It was my rebirth. And till today, I feel that acceptance was so necessary. And if I couldn't have come to an acceptance phase, I don't think I would have come this far, right? Because when I started accepting for who I was and not for what had happened to me, I began to focus on what was important to me, right?
Right.
And the first, most important to me was my family.
Right.
Yeah. And when I started seeing how happy my son was to see me at home, cooking for him, and when I started being there for him for his studies, and when I could spend time talking to him, when I couldn't do all this, when I was working 24 hours, 7 days a week, doing countless of reports that made no sense, I had so much more time with my family, and that was amazing. And the next thing that I focused on was my own mental health and well-being, right? I started doing martial arts, I focus on qigong now, and I do my meditation every morning, and I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I don't have a 9 to 5 job to do that, but I still do, and I do it with all my heart.
So what I can hear from you is that you went from a half life and now you have a full life,
Absolutely, Chris. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And how you did that was to befriend your pain, if I can use the word.
Yes,
You use the
yeah.
word acknowledge your pain. So you acknowledge your pain, befriended your pain, and you were not stuck being hopeless and helpless.
Precisely. But I wouldn't say that I wasn't like that from the very first day I
Right.
put down my papers. I felt hopeless. And I felt very painful, right? At the core of it. But I had to befriend it. I had to say, yes, that's exactly how I feel. I acknowledge that I felt that way. And now what can I do? Right? That was when I went into that focus, right?
Help us, all right? Because I think that with a lot of our viewers, they would also be in a similar situation. And they want to know what are some concrete things that one can do to befriend the pain.
I think I had a very nice mentor, and I think this is one thing that everyone should have as well. I had a couple, I would say. One would be my meditation master, and another one was my mom. She's always there, mentoring me, guiding me through my life as well. They told me, right? We all go through a numerous amount of pain in our life, right? There will never be a time where we're always up. We will go through valleys in our life as well, but we cannot remain there. And this is from my meditation guru, right? She says that when you feel anger, when you feel sadness, feel all that has got you got to feel it, but tell yourself that you know what, I'm going to feel this for 1 hour or for one day, but after that I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to be this different person altogether. Until today I follow her advice because I think that is ultimately it. If we don't give our chance to feel, we are all human. Come on. We feel anger. We feel pain. We feel hurt. We feel so many things, right? But give yourself that opportunity. Why do we always have to feel happy and be merry, right? If we give that opportunity to ourselves to be merry, then give ourselves the opportunity to feel sad, to feel that pain, to feel that hurt, because we need to learn from that, right? Why are we feeling that way? Question yourself. Why that pain? Why that hurt? What is going on in my head? What is going on in my life? What did I do? What can be done better, right? What can I do to
Nice.
improve?
You remind me, all right, the three things that you have shared with our viewers today of how to get past the pain. Okay, so let me sort of sum it up a bit. The first one is about mindfulness, self-awareness, and whatever you said strike me about this Buddhist master who coined a term which I really like a lot, which is welcome the unwelcome.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that you did that, right? Welcome the anger, welcome the sadness, befriend the pain.
Yeah.
All right, but don't end there. That's what you
Yeah.
said, yeah. And the second point I think struck me a lot is that sometimes when I see people going into such pain, they withdraw from the world,
Yes.
okay, and they go into, they go perhaps even danger of going into depression.
Yeah.
And this is where I thought that, what you did was just brilliant, which is go out there and ask for help.
Yes, exactly.
right? You
Yes.
asked, you went to your mother, right? Yeah, you went to this, right? And they were your confidants.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, we have allies at the workplace, but
Yeah.
allies at the workplace is different from a confidant because the confidant is there for you, for
Yes.
Yasmin.
Yes. Yeah.
And the third thing is not to stay where you are, and you had this strong determination to change.
Yeah.
I think in psychologists they call it self-agency.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Yeah.
In our Buddhist practice, we say, suffer whatever there is to suffer, but enjoy whatever there is to enjoy, right?
Nice.
Yeah. But I remember this term called kintsugi. Do you know this word?
Yes,
Kintsugi.
I was struck by it, but you tell the story.
Kintsugi is also known as kintsukuroi, which is golden repair. It's a Japanese art of repairing a broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with urushui lacquer. Urushui lacquer is a gold, silver, or platinum powder that is mixed to join those broken pieces together. And I love this term so much, right? Because we are in many ways broken, whether it's some situation that has happened in our marriage or in our career or in our childhood days, for example, as well. We are broken in many, many, many ways. Through all that life has taught us, right? But if we remain broken, we become even more broken as we grow towards life, right? But the whole idea of kintsugi is to mend this broken. And I like this because if you keep those broken pieces or like a wound unstitched or are not repaired, you'll be more wounded, right? You'll be bleeding through it. So it's to close that wound, which was very important to me. And I felt that as I kept that wound open, it will always hurt me. And when I started repairing those and saying that, yes, let me not forget it, but let it be a reminder of something that I learned. In that way, I meant those broken parts of me through gold. Because in that way, shines, it shines light. It tells me that I have stories to tell. I was broken, but yet I grew through this, and this was important to me. I could not have learned so much in that entire time if it wasn't for this incident. And I coat that broken part with gold.
Wow, I've got nothing else to say but just affirm this wonderful journey that you had. As you said about kintsugi, it's not throwing away the plates that's broken, but mending it back, right? So the mended plate is basically having this character. It's made stronger. And I hope that each one of us here will be able to make such journey, will be able to repair our broken selves, befriend our pain, as what Yasmin was mentioning a bit earlier. So there you have it, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Yasmin's incredible journey out of a toxic workplace. Now, when she mentioned that, you reminded me of one of my favorite writers, by a lady by the name of Annie McKee, who wrote a book called Happy at Work. So let me just relate it to the 4 tips that she mentioned. Yeah. So Annie McKee talks about 4 stages, and you may have recognized it in Yasmin's story or even your own story. Right, stage 1, according to Annie, is get me the hell out of here. You heard Yasmin's experience. It is heart-wrenching. But like what Yasmin says, be honest with your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. And also, right, get out of our habitual destructive emotions and befriend our pain. Did I first get it right?
Yes.
Very consistent with what McKee says, right? Yeah. Stage 2, according to McKee, is figure out what's important and hold steady, even when it's tough. That's what a beautiful, right? Yeah. So she believes in herself, being a good consultant, being able to do good work, and at the end of the process, end of the journey, finding that at the end of it, family is very important. spending quality time with your son is very important.
Yeah.
And that gave Yasmin a lot of joy, right? Stage 3, according to McKee, is honestly assess your work or life situation. That's what Yasmin did. She was just being very honest with where she is and moving out of that toxic situation that she was mentioned. Stage 4, according to McKee, is run towards the future, not away from the past. She demonstrated that very well, right? Yeah, right. Really understanding her priorities, all right? Truly understanding what's important to her. And that's why she's on her way becoming a fantastic trainer, a good change leader, all right, and also a life coach. Right. So that's what we have for our
Yeah.
our audience today, right, Yasmin?
I just want to add another. I happened to read a study conducted by MIT Sloan School of Management that found that toxic workplace culture is the number one reason people actually leave their jobs, and it's about 10.4 times more likely to contribute to people leaving their jobs than any kind of compensation, right? And I feel that people are afraid to voice out about toxic work culture, about toxic bosses, to add to that. But it is a necessity for us to speak about this openly because it can happen to anybody out there. It could even happen to someone really dear to you and you care so much about, and they are probably suffering through this. And if they can't find a way out of it, how do they manage it is very important. If you have to stay in your toxic workplace, you need to find a way that you manage that stress, you manage the emotions that come with it, right? It's very important for me to speak about this because I went through it and I know it's not an easy thing just to leave for everybody. So think what's right for you before you make the biggest decision of your life, whether it's to remain and whether it's to leave. The decision is always up to you, but know what's right and best for you when you make that decision. But don't be afraid to speak about it or share with anybody around you, and get the necessary help that you need for your mental health and well-being as well. Thank you very much, viewers. It was lovely to have you on our second episode.
All right. So you heard from Yasmin and her incredible journey. So, like what Yasmin says, most of us, all right, spend a good amount of time at work today. All right. And very often, our work defines our identity. And at the same time, as what Yasmin says, there will be toxic workplaces. And we want you to speak up, as what Yasmin has just recommended. And more than that, all right, to get past it, like what she's done. So, dear viewers, share with us your story as Yasmin has shared her story. Send us, all right, some comments about what were key challenges you faced, but more important, what did you do to get out of that toxic workplace? All right, we'll be waiting to hear from all of you. And at the same time, in future episodes, we will see how we can strengthen ourselves, whether this is in our workplace or in our life space. So in the meantime, let's kinsuguit,
and we'll see you on the next episode of
Kemuncak Awakening.
Bye.